cars. On real roads. Real fast. It's the Subaru Canadian Rally Championship on TSN. And hi again, everyone, and welcome to Parry Sound, Ontario, in the beautiful 30,000 Islands region north of Toronto. And it is a tourist mecca that attracts thousands of people every summer. But today, well, the attraction is the Rally of the Voyageurs. I'm Vic Crowder, along with our rally expert, Paul Chater. And Paul, we have a very large engine.
This season, the Parry Sound weather is perfect. It's sunny and warm, and there's a strong breeze to keep the dust away.
Rallying on TSN is brought to you by Subaru, the beauty of all-wheel drive, and by Yokohama Performance Radios. Now you've got control. And Paul, starting number one, Frank Sprongel, his brother Dan, from Mississauga, Ontario, in the very familiar Audi Quattro S2.
And Vic, they have been totally dominant so far this season. 5 rallies and 5 wins in Canada, plus 2 second-place finishes in the United States, gives them a huge lead in the North American Rally Cup.
150, medium right over crest, 100. Everything medium right over crest,
The familiarity between the two, they just work so well together. Now, this first leg of the rally consists of 5 special stages totaling some 50 kilometers.
Straight over.
Once they got into the forest, onto these gravel roads, the Sprongels won every stage.
Foot left, opens.
Right, yeah.
Now, do you think it's an advantage to start first on roads such as this?
Well, that's a yes and no answer, really, Vic. Starting first, they don't have any tracks in the cars in front, so they have no indication of how tough some of the blind hills or curves are. But on the other hand, the road surface is smooth and it's unbroken, and it's allowing their Yokohama A35 soft compound tires real grip. These stages will be run, perhaps 3-4 times over the course of the rally, and they'll become badly cut up as the rally progresses. So on the second pass, the Sprongels will actually have to switch to harder compound tires.
Well, that was a neat pendulum turn. Did you see how he swung it to the left, actually, to bring the rear end around and get to the right?
And he got it a little wide coming out, got one rear wheel off the main surface of the road, and he really had to stand on the throttle to get the boost and his horsepower back up.
And a good example of what you said right there. You see how already, just by one pass, it seemed to get rutted in all those little rocks. Starting number 2 is another Audi Quattro, this one driven by John Kemp of Attica, New York, and his co-driver, Rod Hendrickson.
Vic, Kemp is a consistent top 5 finisher in the American Championship. His Audi, in fact, is prepared by the Sprongel brothers at 4-Star Racing in Georgetown, Ontario. But it only has 200 horsepower from a 5-cylinder turbo, but the car is very reliable.
Now, his tire choice is Michelin's. And that's the interesting thing about the series. I mean, there's nothing that limits you to what you pick.
Actually, the only thing that's limiting on what to pick is the surface of the road and how hard a compound they need.
Starting third, Marion Sandra Trey from Cornwall, Ontario, and their Eagle Talon with 400 horsepower and a loose front hood.
And they had a great run going at the Beta Chaleur Rally. In fact, they were in second place until the suspension failed. Now, apparently, they have not entirely corrected the problem. It cropped up again in this event only a few stages into it, and unfortunately, they didn't finish.
Tom and Trish McGeer, their Subaru Impreza WRX, and they're the last team, if you can believe it, to win a rally other than the Sprongel brothers.
And that was back last November in the Rally Auto Charleroi. They're running on Pirelli tires. They've got about 360 horsepower from the Subaru. There was a short stage in the parking lot in Parry Sound, which McGeer actually won. So they start the rally proper with a 1-second lead. They're beaten on this first real stage by 7 seconds by the Sprongels, so the McGeers drop into second.
But you know that he will not give up here. He's always just flat out all the time trying to catch the Sprongels. Now, a familiar team with a new car, Sylvain Maison, Dominique Cyr from Le Plain in their new Subaru Impreza RS 2.5.
The car is running in production GT class, which means a stock 165 horsepower motor. Vincent can lock up the GT championship with a win here, so he will debut the car with a powerful 300 horsepower engine in the next event, the Rally Auto Charleroi on November 5th.
Oh, and you can see the ruts in the road, and we're only, what, 4 or 5 cars in.
Already the road is starting to get chewed up, and this is only the first pass on this road as well. They've got 3 or 4 more to go, so the road is going to get chewed.
All right, as a driver, do you try to follow the tracks or do you try to make your own?
Well, you use the tracks as a guideline. Going into a turn, and there, as you see, a lot of rocks sprayed a long way out, and it's a fairly fast corner.
Yves Barbe from Laval and Pierre Bassenet in their Eagle Talent Export A.
Yves started, well, slow, posting this with his time on stage 3.
Here's another new car, Paul John Nichols, Mike Koch, probably the best two-wheel drive team in North America, and they're debuting their VW Golf.
This isn't your normal VW Golf, a 6-speed transmission and 195 horsepower, all transferred through the front wheels.
Something a little bizarre here, it's a VW Fox from New York.
Well, the car started life as a VW Fox, but now has 4-wheel drive and a V6 twin-turbo engine built in Manhattan by Sakis Hadjiminas, who also drives. Co-driver is Canadian Brian Maxwell. They started well, finished each of the first 2 stages in the top 5.
So as we check the leaderboard through 2 stages, the Sprongles lead by 5 seconds over McGear. The American Kempton is just 1 second farther back. Welcome back to the Rally of the Voyageurs. Vic Rauter along with Paul Chater, and this is the view from the front bumper of Tom McGear's Subaru as he runs stage A5, 5 seconds behind the Sprongles.
And he's pushing hard. Look at these large rocks. And listen to the pounding the skid plate under the car is getting.
Altogether different when you're riding down here and how quick it is.
That's one of the best, man. Yeah. Come on, give it to him. Look at him.
Some of the crowd, you can hear them say, one of the best indeed. Tom and Trish McGear in their Subaru WRX.
Hard on the throttle, but very relaxed behind the wheel.
Oh, look at the song he has to do. Try and save it now.
And a little behind in the steering, and whoops, over he goes on his side.
Now, in most rallies, sometimes if there's spectators around, they'll come by and help try and push the car back.
Unplug me.
He said unplug me to take the radio jacks out of his helmet so they can get out of the car. Let's watch it again. Here he is in the turn, got it in a great slide, but he hits a bump or a rock. The suspension becomes unweighted, and the car gets into a much bigger slide than he anticipated, then gets behind in his steering. The car's heading for the ditch. He has one desperate last yank on the handbrake to try to get the tail around, but it rolls on its side.
Oh, here they come. Here are the spectators to help. Trish still in. Uh-oh, but I see some flame.
He's on fire. Fire under the hood. Sure, get this.
And now Trish has a fire extinguisher under her seat. There she goes. She's handed it out. Hood's up.
So some oil may have splashed on what? Maybe the turbocharger as one of the other cars goes by now?
It's actually a fairly common thing, and the white smoke coming out of there is really just the overflow oil that's on the exhaust, and it's burning.
Well, they get it restarted.
Now he's got to find a route back to the road.
Trying to keep it going. For the moment, though, Trish not in her co-driver's seat.
And Tom does not have his helmet on, so he can't continue until they're suited up. But
here we go, getting it all together. And that's unbelievable. That's what rallying is all about. Just keep it going. The McGears have lost 17 minutes, though, Paul, to the leaders, but if it makes them feel any better, other teams having their troubles, too. The Latrage you mentioned, suspension, they're out. Sakis Hadjiminas and Brian Maxwell in their VW Wild Thing in 3rd place, but the end of stage 4, the motor is down on power.
Nothing obvious under the hood, but a big cloud of smoke means
That's it.
blown head gasket. That's it. They're out.
Meanwhile, the Sprongles, well, they just keep on rolling, coming into this stage with a lead of 53 seconds and pulling away from the field at a rate of 1 second every kilometer.
That's an amazing advantage when you consider there are 37 cars running this in this event. To be that far ahead is quite an accomplishment.
And one thing about the Sprongles, as we've noticed over the years and over the rallies, is they just never quit. John Kemp running in second place, and although he's dropping back from Sprongle, he's widening his lead for second place over the rest of the field.
Only McGear, who is still running but way back, can beat his stage time. He had a scare when the exhaust pipe was knocked up against the chassis and the floor got so hot that a nylon bag belonging to the co-driver caught fire, filling the car with smoke.
This is John Nichols from Lachine, Quebec. Mike Koch, they are the top Group 2 wheel drive car and are running third overall ahead of many of the more powerful four-wheel drive cars.
Sylvain Vincent, Dominic Sears started this stage 23 seconds behind in fourth place. He's in a good fight with Barb and Townsend. All three drivers were within 4 seconds of each other at the start of this fifth stage.
Townsend, Wood, having a trouble-free run in their four-wheel drive Toyota Corolla.
Yves Barb has been as high as fourth, but problems with the brakes are slowing him. Hopefully, he'll be more competitive after the service stop.
And isn't it funny, Paul, aside from the Sprongles, when the leaders have some problems, suddenly those drivers, those cars in the back of the field are suddenly in contention.
Patrick Richard, Ian McCurdy from Vancouver, good example. Novice team doing great in only their second national event. Their Impreza is so stock they still have the air conditioning, power windows, and the CD player.
Play those tunes, baby. From the East Coast, we welcome the Subaru Legacy John and Clark Painter, who are 8th overall.
They're within a few seconds of Richard in 7th place, both drivers in production GT.
Marc Racine and Luc Bichet have Honda Canada's Civic in 9th position, second in Group 2 behind the Nichols VW.
The final car running in the top 10 is the American Honda Civic of Robinson and Lindquist from Ohio. Let's hear from the leader.
We're in the lead currently. We chose the A35, the soft compound, because it's first pass through the road, so we figured we'd get an advantage with the softer compound. We're going to go to a harder compound tonight after a few passes around the road. Surprisingly, McGear rolled on stage 2, I believe. John Kemp from the States, he's in second place, I believe. But it's a good run. There's a good battle within the field.
We got a little bit wide coming out of a left-hander, very fast left-hander, and hooked the back of the car. Spun out, got us backwards, and I just thought we were going to spin, and then the right rear dug in and popped us up on that side. Not a big deal. There were some spectators there. They got us back down on wheels pretty quickly, but we were hung up on the edge of the bank. So it took us probably about 15 or 20 minutes to get out. Don't really know what that means now. We're just looking at reassessing where we are. The car's running fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. We fired it up. We had a minor fire from the oil dripping out of the turbocharger, but again, that just went, and we put that out. That was no problem, and now we're away. So it's full power, and now we'll just see what we can salvage. I'm looking to go for second or third place now, but that might be a pretty tall order.
It sure would be, because right now the McGears are some 17 minutes off the pace set by the Sprongles here in the Rally of the Voyageurs. And we welcome you all back to the Rally of the Voyageurs. I'm Vic, he's Paul, at least that's what the name tags say. And riding along with the Sprongle brothers in their Audi Quattro S2, and this is stage 7.
Vic, they're running on Yokohama A35 ED for extended distance hard compound tires because the roads are now getting pretty chewed up on the second pass. They are continuing to win every stage, and they're pulling away from second place at half a second to 1.5 seconds per kilometer.
Now the harder compound will do what? Dig in a little bit more, give you a little bit more bite?
And as the roads get chewed up and the rocks underneath get thrown up to the surface, sharp edges, everything else, the harder compound tires just will, they're much more reliable and they're less likely to fail as the road becomes more rutted.
John Kemp's Audi, comfortably second place. You noticed when we showed you the leaderboard, under 2 minutes behind, no problems, pulling away from third place, the same rate as Frank Sprongle, so he's running very well. It's just that how do you make up nearly 2 minutes?
Well, it's impossible for him with about a 200 horsepower disadvantage to the Sprongles. He's doing extremely well just to be in second place with this car.
Nichols, their VW third place, but in a tight battle with a couple of all-wheel drive cars.
And Nichols' ice racing experience certainly puts him in good stead here with only front-wheel drive, but a lot of horsepower, and he's motoring that car very quickly.
Fourth place, Sylvain Vincent Subaru. He beat Nichols by 3 seconds on stage 6, and so now he's within 22 of third place.
Townsend, fifth place in a Toyota, matching the pace of Nichols and Vincent. 41 seconds covers all 3 cars in this fight for third.
But this is the beauty of all-wheel drive, isn't it?
It certainly is, and really by all standards, Nichols should not be in a fight with 2 four-wheel drive cars. He's doing remarkably well.
And Nichols, though, very happy with that new VW chassis. Much more stable car.
It's got a longer wheelbase and increased roll stiffness compared to his old car, and he says he doesn't have to drive it sideways as much to go as fast.
All right, because of the stiffness, if it was less stiff, the car would tend to maybe yaw back and forth a bit.
Yeah, and it would be much more difficult to handle on these roads.
Vincent, his car sponsored by Subaru La Chute, and interestingly enough, he has some parts from England.
Well, the car's basically stock, but he has dynamic rally suspension all the way from England. He prefers the handling and braking of the Subaru, but he really misses the power of his turbocharged Eagle. He'll have a new WRX drivetrain for the next event, and then we'll finally get to see how good he is. But a lot of drivers who are great in low-powered cars can't make the adjustment to big horsepower.
Keith Townsend's Toyota staying within a second or 2 of Nichols and Vincent, but not able to close the gap. Why is that? Why can't drivers make that adjustment from low power to high power?
Well, Vic, basically in a low-powered car, you really only have 2 positions on the throttle pedal, either on or off. With a high-powered car, there's a great deal more variance, and you have to be very gentle with the throttle. And having that much horsepower, you're much more likely to spin the car when you apply the throttle coming into a turn.
The newcomers, Patrick Richard and Ian McCurdy. They're currently running 6th in their GT class in Princeton.
They've got a great story, Vic. A couple of friends left Vancouver to tow the rally car 4,300 kilometers to this event. After 3 days, they were making such slow progress with the trailer that they realized they weren't going to get to the start on time. So they took the race car off its trailer in Thunder Bay and drove the last 1,200 kilometers to Parry Sound, arriving just before the close of tech inspection.
And according to the Ontario Provincial Police, the OPP, they may have set a record doing it. They started their rallying early. They got a couple of speeding tickets getting to Parry Sound.
Tom and Trish McGeer are refusing to quit in their battered Impreza involved in that earlier rollover. In the true spirit of rallying, they will press on regardless.
At service, the Sprongles want to give our classes a cleaning.
No, because I walked around the thing and it was
Looking very good. The McGears, the Subaru team, has added about 50 kilograms of duct tape as they try to replace that smashed window. While Patrick Richard's crew may not have the most experience, but they definitely have the best sound system, the Beastie Boys. We need some snowboarders.
We moved up 17 spots, so we're pretty happy about it. So the Subaru's running great, so we're stoked.
They are, they should be happy. They're stoked. But it is the Sprongles who are smoking through 7 stages. Welcome back. It's stage 8, and the Sprongle brothers leading by a minute 18 when we left you, and looking very good.
And no wonder they look so relaxed in the car, having that kind of lead.
The familiar footwork of Frank Sprongle as he works the clutch, the pedal, and the accelerator, but here's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, they're going slowly. Dan accidentally opened his seatbelt, so Frank has slowed the car down until his brothers safely buckled back in before returning to full speed. But even at that, Vic, they still won the stage.
Look at this. Trying to find it. Frank looking over. Come on, find it. I want to get back on the gas here. How do they complement each other? Why do they complement each other so well?
Because they work together completely as a team. Frank relies on Dan for the correct information at exactly the right time. If Dan warns him a little bit too soon, he might slow down too much. If he warns him too late, they might crash. So they have a perfect understanding. Dan understands the driving style. Frank trusts the instructions he's getting from his co-driver.
And as we mentioned, they are not only dominating the Canadian Championship, but in contention in the American Series as well. I would love to see them go international. I would like to see them on the World Rally Tour and see how they would do. But of course, that takes a lot of money.
and the competition is so much stiffer. They would certainly have a good run for their money.
And money is what it's all about. The North American program, top-notch, maybe $200,000 to run the season. You run the World Tour, and it's probably 10 to 15 times that much. 4 stages remain, night stages, time to bolt on the lights.
The Sprongles have the xenon lighting system from Bosch. Racing at night, Vic, you know, you can only go as fast as you can see. So while better lighting means more safety on the street, in rally, it translates directly into speed.
Meanwhile, the Pimps have gone with the Hella quartz halogens. So it's off into the nighttime.
The three-way fight for third place continued until Keith Townsend was forced out with a broken timing belt on the second-last stage.
Meanwhile, out of the shadows, into the bright lights come the Sprongles as they arrive at the final checkpoint, and once again, they are the Canadian champions for a 6th time.
That was great. I made a couple of mistakes on the last stage, so I'm glad to be here. It was a little too close. But it was a great rally. The Audi ran fabulous. Yokohama tires were excellent. Lights, we're running the new Xenon lights from Bosch, and they're fabulous. Excellent.
No one else has been able to see the light. It's been Sprongles dominating a perfect season so far.
Vincent Subaru finishes 4th overall and wins Production GT Championship.
So the top 10 with 2 rallies to go. Sprongle has won it. Vincent will try to keep up to him. He'll have some more power, remember, at Charlevoix. 6 Quebec drivers make the top 10. As for Richard and McCurdy, 5th overall and 2nd in Production GT.
He doesn't know how he'll get his car back to Vancouver, but he has to be back at work Wednesday.
The Rally of the Voyageurs has been brought to you by Yokohama Performance Radio. Now you've got control. And by Subaru, the beauty of all-wheel drive. The next event of the Canadian Rally Championship, the Rally Auto Charlevoix, November 5th and 6th in Bay St. Paul, Quebec. You'll see it on TSN November 27th. Till we talk with you again, thanks for joining us. You're watching TSN, Canada's most watched sports network.